Hey guys, and welcome back to another YouTube video. In this video, we're going through my AFL Fantasy team review for round 22, in which I scored a 2375 with a round rank of 8,486, which is like 35 off what I did last round, and I ended up with an overall rank of 4,900 on the dot, which is up 198 from last round. So I have actually gone up in the last couple of rounds just slightly by about 200 ranks, which is actually a pretty decent, for what I've done in the last couple of weeks, pretty decent. I mean, my trades have done pretty well the last couple of weeks, and this week I do have a contingency plan for tomorrow night's teams if we do get the Sheasel out. That could happen. There is a switch that I'll do that I still have enough to do my main trade. But yeah, I may have two forced outs on this week, and it will mean that I may need to do some certain trades. But hopefully that'll help, because I'm hoping that I'll have a link. I just need to double check with the teams. Yes, North do play late enough that if Hanser Jr. is dropped, that I'll have a loop option for Peatling still and won't have to rely solely on picking between Peatling and Philippou, because I do, when we go through it, did actually hold the trade of Philippou, even though he was out, just because it allowed me to loop Peatling, and now I'm really grateful that it did happen with English being injured and also Sheasel a touch and go. So there is a chance that that trade, in hindsight, just holding that trade because he would still act the same as a 200k non-playing player, Philippou, is probably going to work out the best for me. But anyway, let's just jump into this recap here. As you can see here, trying to cover a little bit up. Whitfield, 71, he's also potentially under an injury cloud. Let's actually go through and just pop up the injuries on here, as I think that'll probably be the best bet for us. Let's just go Whitfield. No Whitfield in the, it looks like no Whitfield in the GWS injury report. Always a good sign. Briggs, Cornelio as a test, but I don't think that that'll impact Peatling as much, as Peatling, he kind of was best on ground, as we said in the last recap. In the last recap, I did mention it, saying that he got the full 10 coaches' votes. So I don't think he'll be sub now because Cornelio is a test. I think they'll go someone else to sub, and his role may be reduced, but he now has, I think, easier matchups per se. So, that is a good thing to see that he isn't, that Whitfield isn't in the injury list. That's a good thing, and also that I think Peatling has an increased role now that he's actually been playing really, really well. Harry Sheasel, 123. If we go to North Melbourne's injury list, that would be that way. You can see Harry Sheasel, ankle, test. So that'll be a big one, and also the fact that Zach Fisher is available. That could help for my Supercoach team and actually get me up to 22 bodies. But I don't care about the Supercoach team at this point. But yeah, so it looks as if Sheasel could be touch and go. That is what we've heard, and if that is the case, then there is a move that I've been touting so far this week, that I wanted to make, but I may be almost forced into making that sort of that move if Sheasel is out, because I'm just putting it out there. There's no way Sheasel scores more than another primo defender, or even just a non-rookie defender, in 1 week than that non-rookie does in 2 weeks. It would be very tough. He'd have to go probably 150, and even then, like a Lawson Humphries these last 2 weeks, put it this way, Lawson Humphries the last 2 weeks would force Sheasel to go 141 to beat him, and Lawson Humphries hasn't even had that good of a last couple of weeks. Nick Martin, 127. Another guy has really tough matchup that in round 24 I may consider. Here's what I may actually consider doing. Sheasel out this week. If Sheasel misses, Sheasel out this week to said player, and then Harry Sheasel back in for Nick Martin in round 24. Because Nick Martin's last 2 weeks is horrendous, but I may need to keep him because I may have forced injuries. But he did really respond well this week, and I don't know whether he'll be in the half-back line, and I do think that Sydney do give up quite a few points to half-backmen, but I don't know if James Jordan will necessarily tag Nick Martin. James Jordan may just go to the likes of Zach Merritt, but that may also be a James Rowbottom job. So they're getting back to tagging both. Sydney, both one in the back line and one in the midfield, through that James Robon tag coming as he's come back. So it'll be interesting to see how they work that out. I do think that they play their best when they do apply those two tags, as I think James Jordan is much more useful shutting a guy down than he is actually playing as a sole forward, as he can kick a goal, but I think he kicks a goal almost either way in that game. So in that different scenarios, I should say. So I think that just him playing that lockdown role could impact Nick Martin, but also to a certain extent, it does mean that he's done that role before, James Jordan, and Bailey Dale's still gone 100. He's done that role before, and Lockie Whitfield, I think, went 105, something like that, against the Swans. Was it 108 there? Who else has he done it against? I'll look at the Swans fixture, but he's done well against some other guys earlier in the year, but there's certainly guys that can still turn up, and I wouldn't be surprised if Martin still scores a decent enough score, like a 90 or so, against the Swans. This week, Tom Stewart just had a stinker against Freo, but he's coming up against two easier matchups in St Kilda and West Coast, so I wouldn't think about trading him. Nick Dacos comes up against Brisbane and Melbourne, and yeah, he's just come into a rough patch, but he can obviously work around it. What do you go against Brisbane? Has he played Brisbane? He went 101 against Brisbane last time, so Brisbane at the MCG should help him a little bit, I would think. We'll probably have the Joe Berry tag, but hopefully he can just run in the back line and it will work better. But we'll see how that works out, as he's really struggled the last little bit, and who would have thought that a Nick Newman for the likes of a Nick Dacos was actually the right move. Then you go to Nick Newman, and he saved it. At halftime, he was on 29, I believe, and then second half, he scored an 83 to absolutely save his score and get up to a 116. And that was the hard matchup for the round, for his remaining fixtures. So for him to go 145, 116, I'm really happy, obviously. And he's now got West Coast and St Kilda, and I'm pretty sure St Kilda are starting to flip towards a really good team to play against in terms of turnovers and transition points. So that could really help Nick Newman. And West Coast are obviously, outside of when West Coast play, like, who have they played recently? If we just bring up, say, a Harley Reid, who have they played recently? They played Gold Coast and North, so those two games are skewed, but I'm pretty sure they're, if you look at DFS for their transition and you actually work back looking at individual games for transition points, pretty sure you see outside of when West Coast, and this also applies to, I think, North Melbourne as well. So this is why I think that Sicily is a really good guy to trade in. But when you look at those teams, when they don't play the easy teams, like the other easy teams around them, they actually really do have a massive differential in terms of transition. It's like 150 to 200 points in most games. So I think it would be probably an average of about 110 transition turnover point differential. So that should really help teams playing West Coast. So that's why I think West Coast is a really good matchup. And I think that is sort of a trend for St Kilda, that they're getting better and better to play against each week now, as they have no finals to play for or anything. Then you have Lawson Humphries, 69. I was never going to take that, but I don't think I could actually take that. Probably should have looped Nick Dacos with the tag, and there is a potential that I do try and loop him this week. I just need to check when do they play. They play here, Essendon play here, so it's impossible to loop, I think, unless I go Zakaskelski or something. But then again, I'm probably going to need Sicily if Sheasel doesn't get up. So there is a chance that I can't make that move anyway. I think Sicily just gets, I get like him with about 5 or 6k to spare. I'll do that move and get back to you guys about that, obviously, on the Friday, and hopefully that move does work. But I'm just thinking about it in my head, and I need about 130k to make that move, and I need to make 130k to be able to do the English to Sherry trade, and I believe that Sicily's about 816k or so, and I think that would mean that I'd have about 10k, so I'd have about 10k spare, I believe, give or take. Gordon, 69, he just sucked as VC. Dunkley, 92, he's not doing his job, but he's not stuffing it up. Bond, 126, doing his job. Butters, 108, I'm glad that I held, because now he comes up against Adelaide. Adelaide earlier in the year, he went 104. Then he has Freo earlier in the year, he went 113. So I don't know if he'll necessarily... He may get the Hayden Young sort of tag or in that... I don't think Nat Fyfe will honestly tag Zach Butters because I think Zach Butters is too whippy for him. But he could get the Hayden Young tag, which would be a little bit annoying. But yeah, I don't think he gets tagged either in the Adelaide game. So I think that those two are really good fixtures for both him and Rosie, who have gone off in the last couple of weeks. Tom Green, 98. He comes into an easier patch of his season. I think now these two games are a little bit easier for him. If I just double check that. Let me just double check that quickly. I will use just the easier one to double check this than the harder one. So he's got Fremantle and also Western Bulldogs in the last 2 weeks. And let's just check that. Western Bulldogs -2 and Freo -2 basically, rather than the Hawthorn and the Brisbane matchups, which were both a lot worse. So I expect a bounce back for him, especially with them fighting for their season. But I was sort of not too fussed when he went 98, to be honest with you. Merritt, 134, comes up against Sydney, where he went 130 odd against us last time, or 122, sorry. But yeah, I knew he went big with 2 goals. I don't know if I should expect him to kick 2 goals against the Swans. And he will probably cop a tag as well, but Merritt is that good that tags really don't impact him too much. And yeah, so I probably wouldn't put the VC on him against Sydney, but I would just be happy to have him there. And maybe against Brisbane, you look at trading him out, as he did go against Brisbane, hasn't played Brisbane. But I would maybe look at potentially trading him out against Brisbane. But other than that, I wouldn't think of anything. Connor Rosie, 113, we talked about. And Caleb Sarong, 103. Huge, and he's coming up into a hard part of his schedule. So I may look, if you look at GWS, we're at GWS, yeah, -5, and then he's got Port Adelaide -9. Port Adelaide, though, I think that might be heavily skewed by the Swans game, still being in there. If we look at the Swans here, actually not so. Isaac Heaney's -30 is a big one. Luke Parker, -24 is a big one. But you also got the Paddy Cripps, Matt Kennedy, and also Adam Chera games there. I don't think Kennedy is a -20 though. I don't necessarily agree with that. But you can see here, and also Matt Rowell, 63. That was a stinker from him. And Trent Rivers a -50 for a 41. I don't know what happened there. And Clayton Oliver, 43. So yeah, it's an interesting one there with regards to Port Adelaide midfielders. Or midfielders against Port Adelaide. That's the wrong thing. There we go. But Sarong could be an interesting one. What did he go against Port earlier on this year? Went 92, and against GWS hasn't played them this year. So yeah, kind of weird that they don't play each other and then until round 23. But anyway, hopefully it goes large, and I'll probably put just a emergency on Sean Manor, but I expect Clay Hall to play, and I don't really have any other guys outside of that to be able to loop in there. Also, I could actually, I think, when do Saints play? Saints play Geelong. Collingwood play at, what's that time? I can't see it on the big screen, but Collingwood play at 4:35. Saints play at 7:30, not 9:30. So I could actually loop Nick Dacos through that manner there and just put Zach Reid in the emergency spot there. If I do actually have the Sheasel trade to Sicily, I could actually, because the other trade I'll do is the only other way I can do it is through Schoenmaker. Using him to get the cash to be able to get some English up to Terry. But I could use, if Schoenmaker stays in the side, I could use him to get to be able to loop Nick Dacos against Brisbane, is it? Yeah, Brisbane. That's not going to be a good match, I don't think. What did he go last time against Brisbane? He went 101 against Brisbane. So I could use him to loop there. Moving on to the Rucks, Tim English injured, 96. All right, you've done your job, sort of, but then again, you also got smoked. So Tristan Cherry, here we come, especially with Tim English out. Who do they even have as a ruck? Because they traded the likes of Jordan Sweet away. So their ruck is either, I don't think they'll bring Lachlan Smith in. So who is their ruck going to be? Is it really going to be Darcy? If it is Darcy, then Darcy could be an interesting one for a week or two if it is Darcy. But also if we just go to Western Bulldogs and think about their height-wise, Darcy, Lob could potentially ruck as well. Did Lob ruck last time? No, it doesn't look like he did anywhere. but Darcy did ruck for a little bit, so it could be Darcy. I think it could be a combination of Darcy and Lobb that ruck for them. Just thinking through this here. So I think that Tristan Cherry will absolutely maul both of them because they're both very slender sort of rucks. I mean, English is the same thing. And I'd have to look at Tristan Cherry. Did they play North earlier this year? They did for he did for a 96. And what did Tristan Cherry go against them? Oh, I have him in my current side, so he's not going to be able to show. But yeah, I think that Tristan Cherry is going to absolutely body Western Bulldogs, and that is a potential VC, or is it captaincy material? It would be a Rowan Marshall into... is it? Are we able to do a Rowan Marshall? Yes, we are able to do a Rowan Marshall into a Tristan Cherry, as I do have the West Coast Eagles will be used as a loop either in the forward line or in the back line. Forward line or in the... will either be used in the forward line if I can do it, or will be used in the ruck line. Like, he will be used either to get Petling's score if I use or Zach Skalski as well. So there's some things that we'll sort out in the team reveal, but you'll see that Harry Barnett is my way to be able to loop through the ruck line for those two games, as I don't think there's anything else there. Moving on to the Marshall 140, that was huge, that double. Wish he'd gone a little bit more, wish he'd tackled a little bit, which we went through in their game review, but it is what it is. A 140 double isn't the worst. Flanders, Zorko, Caldwell all sucked, but we had the revival of Isaac Heaney, a 127. He went absolutely huge. Would have liked for him to kick 3 goals 1 rather than 1 goal 3, but his last quarter against Collingwood was up there with one of the best I've seen. Him and Chad Warner pretty much single-handedly carried the Swans across the line. So his effort there was absolutely huge. Dylan Moore was just absolutely huge throughout the day with 15 marks. And then Philippou DMP'd, as we talked about, and we took the Peatling, as a lot of people had to get like a Bolton or someone else that was just horrific. So I think that's where we really caught up, lost ground, because a lot of people had the Sherry Bomb there. And then, these guys on the bench. Hansen, I'm hoping, is a DMP, so that it will help me out as well, so that I can loop through Peatling and also Philippou, so I can loop that matchup there if Hansen isn't out, but I don't know if he necessarily will be. Let's look at the injury list for... he's not on the injury list, which is a good thing, but also you've got Stevens, Wardlaw, and Fisher potentially back this week, which could be an interesting one for them. If they're all back, do they send someone a little bit more forward and play and just don't give Hansen a game, etc. But anyway, that is the video there. If you ended up enjoying the video, remember to like and subscribe, turn the notification bell on for future updates or future uploads, I guess I should say, especially when we transitioned into the AFLW competition and the fantasy side of that. But I'll see you guys in the next video, which will be the trade target, and you'll have the team vanilla for AFLW on tomorrow as well, given that it's only one video tomorrow with just trade targets, and you'll have the team vanilla to make it 2 videos as well. So I'll see you guys in those videos. Bye, guys.